So we're day 5 of 6 days of training. Have you heard about the other training sessions we've had? No one has. No one talks. I don't believe that. Okay. Basically, we have a day, and this morning we're going to talk about the performance management system, the new one that you are going to be implementing now. And then this afternoon, we're going to put those into practice. We're going to learn about negotiation. We're going to learn about conflict management, things like this, because your bosses have been trained in it. So if they've been trained in negotiations and you come in contact with them, they know things you don't know. So we want to make sure that you also know how to negotiate. Okay? Those are the 2 things that we'll be doing today. So the reason why we have this, and we made a commitment to doing this, is that basically it is, what is the performance management system? Why do we have it? What are we going to do? And how will you be impacted by it? We've been working, I'm part of OSR, Ellie also is in the room usually. She's also part of OSR. We've been working with SPAN since November on performance management system and improving it. You also have inside your own company, Mazdi and his group, right, under Dr. Shukri, who's working on what's called KPIs. And we'll talk about that today. We've been helping them too in that regard. So basically, we've been very involved with SPAN over the last 3 to 4 months, and this is sort of like our last hoorah. This is how we bring it all together through this training program. All right, so basically what you suffer from in SPAN is very typical. It's not unusual. Your performance management reviews for the non-executives are different than for the executives. You have had only behaviors in the non-executives, not in the executives or the HODs. That is not right. That is not good practice. So consequently, you've had a puzzle that's been many pieces in many different directions. The whole idea is to bring it all together so that we have a transparent, consistent, clear performance management system through the ranks, from HOD to executives to non-executives. Everyone will be treated fairly. So there's no more favoritism or why did they get promoted and somebody else didn't, etc. There's a fair, clear reason of why the system works in the way it works. And this morning, I'll be explaining that to you. Right? So any questions you have at any point, please ask. Your colleagues have been very, very vocal. Some more than others. And yes, we are filming at the back, but they're filming me. So they can't see you. They only see the back of your heads. So they don't know who you are. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Plus, I say anything I think of. So I'm in all sorts of trouble with the camera right now. I tell you what I think, okay? I'm not going to tell you what the official SPAN version is. We've been doing this type of work for many, many years. We have a lot of experience, right? So we'll talk to you about things that work, things that don't work, and things that are not 100% set up or clarified yet within SPAN. I'll be very honest and open with you, all right? So if you ask me a question, I will answer it honestly. No politics here. So basically, as I said, we'll start this morning by about 12:30. We'll try to break around 12:30 because I think the hotel is crazy today. Downstairs, the parking is completely full. So if the parking is full, it means lunch is going to be full. And this lunch buffet is not set up to be easily used, right? So we have to get down there early, eat fast. So that's our objective for the day. Finish at 12:30 so we can all eat. And before all of these, it looks like the entire political system, 2 or 3 ministries are here today, trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. So if you think you're bad, you should see the other rooms around here. They're having equally bars. And then after that, we'll then go into, in the afternoon, using what we call role plays. We have 3 role plays that we'll do, which is basically the practice of negotiation, of conflict management, and things like this. So you get to understand how to be better at negotiating. Because a performance management system will have conflicts. You will have conflicts with your boss. If you don't, something's wrong. And the other element is that, therefore, if you have conflict, you need to know how to negotiate, to defend your rights, right? To defend your positions. So that's what we're going to do. Is my English okay? I watch your eyes are okay. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, good. So how does this work? Let me give you a background on performance management systems and the framework, right? The model of which it's built. And this is a chart that ties it all in. So we'll break this chart down in the next few minutes. The key is, the objective that we were given back in November, is that SPAN wants to bring in what's called pay for performance. What does that mean? It means they want to associate bonuses to performance. So if you're very good, you get more bonus. If you're not performing like you're supposed to, you get less bonus. But to do that, you have to have a system in place. You have to have this structure working. And this structure must work in terms of being transparent, being clear, and honest. And until you have this structure in place, this will not work. So the objective of pay for performance sounds easy, but it's actually not easy to implement. So what we've said to SPAN is that once you've designed all this and working with it, you can bring in pay for performance, but not right now. You will not see pay for performance in 2020. You might see it in 2021. And if things are even hard to do, particularly KPIs, you might see it in 2022. But the objective is to be pay for performance. Why is that important? Because ultimately, pay for performance is something that you can pull people. First of all, it's fairer for you, right? If you're doing a great job and somebody else is doing a lousy job, why should you be paid the same amount? So it's a fairer system. And the second thing is that with pay for performance, you are now aligning yourself with a lot of the companies that are out there that have talent, and you need talent in SPAN. SPAN is one of those regulators. Your mission is very, very, very important. There is no more important regulator than water. Water is the most important resource of any country, anywhere in the world. When you look at Singapore, the amount of effort they put into water, the type of people they have in water, they have the best. Why? Because that is a critical resource. They don't have water. You have water. That's a big issue, right? How much do you sell the water for? What's the value of water, etc. Spot here. And there it is. Okay? So basically, the idea is that you need to be able to pull in talent. And you need to develop your own talent. Right now, there was a very quick talent, or I should say, the talent pool was selected based on grade within SPAN. Right? I think it was P3s or P4s, I'm not sure who you were. But 40 of you have been identified as talents within SPAN. But that's not good enough. Talents are actually people who are high performers. Not the grade that you're in, but the performance that you're delivering. So an S, a non-executive, can actually be part of the talent pool. And the way you recognize talent is you recognize talent through performance, not through grade. That's important. And I know that they're now trying to move from, if you're an S, you can move to a P if you have a diploma, right? And that's happening now. But that will be clarified. So basically, S grades can move into the P grades, finally, because that's fair. If you're good, you should be able to move up in an organization, right? So basically, it's not only about pay for performance, it also allows you to select a talent and to develop that talent in a talent pool development. So that's why both of these things we tie together. Okay? So let me break down what these three pieces mean. The first piece, the key piece, is what we call the backbone. It's the structure of a performance management system that basically allows you to go from what is the role of SPAN as a regulator, down through what is the strategy in the organization, to based on the strategy and the role, you now have jobs, job descriptions, organizational charts. And that reorganization happened last year, a year and a half ago. Why was it reorganized? Because you have a reinforced strategy and a reinforced purpose. So basically, now you have the organizational structure, you can do job evaluations. You can figure out what are the jobs, what are the descriptions, how do you evaluate, what are the roles and responsibilities. And then from there, you can then determine the salary and the scales. So how much for these jobs What are they worth and how much should they be paid? And once you have that, now you can go to job performance review. Because not every job has the same review. Different roles, different quality, different expectations. Right? In terms of in terms of our engagement, we basically ran a salary scale review for you. And what we found is that yes, SPAN is out of sync with the common market, with your general market. You're difficult to do it because you're a regulator. So we can't really go to Interwater and say, what are your salary scales? Because Interwater is an independent, for-profit organization. You are not. So it's very hard to get the salary scales right. But we actually did manage that. And we do have the terms and conditions and the salary scales and the benefits have been reviewed by the steering committee of SPAN, and some adjustments will be made. Those adjustments have to come into play before we can actually bring in the job performance review. You all have to be on the same level playing field. You can't have these big discrepancies. What we sometimes see is we see companies who have problems here because the scales are not right, so they use the job performance review to upgrade people. But it's not based on performance. It's based on the need, and that's not right. A performance management system must be about performance, not about how the structure, if this structure is not correct, you do not rectify the performance review. That's unfair. Not good practice. Okay? So this is the backbone. This is why you are in the jobs that you are in, and why you're being paid what you're being paid. Now, what do we review in the job? And that's the key. So there are two pieces to a job. The first one is, what are you going to do in your job? The what of the job? Performance. And that is called KPIs, key performance indicators. KPIs are here. But importantly is that you can get things done and be absolutely terrible in your behavior. We had bosses who beat you all the time. You do not create a good culture if you're beating people. Those days are over. So not only do we need to do the what of the job, we need to do the how. How is the job done? What are the behaviors of the bosses and other people in the organization that allow you to do the job well? It's both. It's not either or, it is what and the how of the job that are important. And a good performance management system has both. They have both. You've had bits and pieces of both. You've had KPIs, kind of, sort of, and you've had some of them based on the behavior, but not everyone. That's not right. Now we have to have a balance in between the two, and everyone needs to be on the same balance. So basically, what happens is that we have the backbone that we've just seen, and we have the KPIs and we call behaviors leadership competencies. Complicated word, but it means behaviors. So when I use leadership competencies as a word, two words, it means behaviors. Now the important thing is that this allows you to achieve your results. This allows you, your behaviors dictate the culture that you have in SPAN. The culture. And culture is very important to an organization. So this is about getting results today, and this is about the future. That's another way of looking at it, the how and the what. The how is very, 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 very important. And that's why we spend about 2 months looking at this. And that you are spending now 3 to 4 months trying to figure out what the KPIs are. Because the KPIs you have now, they don't work. They don't work. They don't work. And you can say it wasn't your fault. It was the fault of the consultants that came and supposedly helped you out. I'm not allowed to say that because I'm a consultant. We don't betray our lives, but actually it was not a good job. And we'll go into that maybe later on, right? So Leslie and his group are trying to work this out. This has been clarified. These elements, particularly salary scale and benefits, have been clarified. We're now moving forward. Now it's time to launch it. And this is what today is about. Okay, so this is what it is. So KPIs are over here. Behaviors and culture are over here. And we have the structure, the backbone. So ultimately, KPIs will result in technical skill development. This is the hard skills. If you can't do your job, then you need to be upskilled in the job. Yeah? Over here, though, is what's called soft skill development, and this is basically leadership programs. The talent pool program that should be coming sometime next year or this year will be about soft skill development. Things like innovation, self-leadership, leading others, these types of programs. Okay? And they all feed into talent selection and development. That's how this whole thing fits. And it has to be consistent. If any of these pieces doesn't fit, the whole thing falls down. So that's why we spent the time we're going to spend the last 3 days. So let's look at KPIs first. So the KPIs, as I said, are what's the job? Performance. What are you going to do? What do you need to do? What are your tasks? Right? What are you expected to do based on your job description? What have you accomplished? And what still needs to be done? Now there are two things in the job. There's one thing is the job description of the daily things, the tasks, operational tasks. Operational tasks. These are the tasks that come out of your JD, your job description. Right? But as you know, there are all these other things that come in. The ministry wants this. The boss wants that. You've been asked to sit in there. Go to this meeting. Right? That has nothing to do with the job description. Right? They have these other things. Right? And you're being judged by this, right? 20% of your time during the meeting, I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm in this meeting, and I can't do my job. So therefore, my performance goes down. So the other things is what's important. And what the KPIs, one of the big problems with KPIs is they only look at this. What should I be doing? How do I do it? That's not a KPI. That is not a KPI. And that's one of your big problems. Everyone says, oh, I do this, 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 and this. I do a lot of this, a little bit of this, et cetera, and you build a KPI around your operational task. That is not the case. This is your job. This is your job. This is going to help the organization move forward or not, depending on what that is. So therefore, KPIs need to be strategic. They need to be, what are the things that you're going to be doing in addition to your normal job that will allow you to move forward. That is a completely mindset change from what you've been taught about KPIs. So what needs to be accomplished and how does it need to be done? And the way we look at this is what we call the flywheel. And the flywheel is as follows. Your ministry and your commission set your organizational deliverables. Your ministry has set 22 KPIs for your organization. Mazdi is arguing with them, and he basically hopes to bring it down to 7. So you get 7, fantastic, job well done. So basically 7 from the ministry, the stand commission, at least up to the last government, you had a very strong commission chairman. I'm not sure who's going to be now, but your past chairman, Santiago, basically set some very, very strong deliverables up here. We expect SPAN to change, we expect SPAN to do this, we expect SPAN to do that. Wow, different. So that comes up at the highest level, this comes in. That then is taken by Dr. Faisal and his C-suite, so his people who report to him, and they sit down and figure out, okay, given what we have to deliver, what are our priorities? What are our strategies? And you've actually done that. That was done in January this year, and there are 8 strategies. We'll look at those later, yeah? So once you have the strategies, then you can go down to what we call division, but in your case you call them department. You go down to your HOD level, and the HOD says, given the strategies, given the objectives, given the strategies, what do I and my team have to accomplish this year? And then, once you have determined that, you then go down to what's called the department level, the organization, the team that you work with. And at your level, you have to figure out, given what they need from these priorities and these deliverables, and what we as a division need to report, what do we need to do as a department? And then at the department level, you finally go down to the individual level. So your individual KPIs need to depend on what's going up here. They are not independent of the organization. Why is this important? It's important because the job that you do has to link to the greater of SPAN. If everyone is working independently of each other, SPAN will never go anywhere. You all need to be working in alignment as one force. Then you get synergy. Then you get great performance. And right now, I don't know if you know what your score is from the ministry based on their KPIs this past year. I'll draw this. It's 87%. So your average score for KPIs, based on what the ministry is saying, based on these people up here, they're saying you should be 87%. You're doing much better than the year before. A year before you were at 79%. So you're almost 10% better. But your goal as an organization is a minimum of 100%. So you have to improve. Now I can tell you something. I've seen many of you. You're all capable of doing 100%. What is preventing you from going here, from here to here, is you're not aligned. There's no synergy. People are doing different things in different reasons, in different ways, inefficiencies in the system. And what the KPIs and the leadership competencies, the behaviors, will allow you to do is to allow you to move in this direction without too much effort. Because you already are doing what you need to be doing, you're not just aligning yourselves. And we'll go through that in a minute with the KPIs. How could that happen? And I'll show you that later this morning. Okay? So basically, your personal KPIs for the year need to link up and down the chain of command. Because what happens? Once you're able to achieve your results, and all of your colleagues in your department achieve their results, then the department realizes its tasks for the year. Done. If all the departments realize their tasks for the year, then the division realizes their targets, which then completes the strategy, which then completes the KPIs. Easy as that. Hard to do, easy to understand. Hard to do, right? So this is what we call the flywheel. The flywheel is a machine that just generates. It's like a water wheel. It produces energy, it produces power in the right way. The strategies come from on top, go all the way down to the bottom. The realization of those strategies comes back up. If you get this right, you will not be at 100%. You'll be somewhere around 120%. And the objective of SPAN is to be the best water company in Southeast Asia, in Asia, in the world. Maybe. But certainly one of the best. Because if you hit 120%, you are world class. And you can do it. You have the power to do it. You have the ability to do it. Right? And it's just a matter of getting everything organized and everyone working together as a common group. And to be fair, it has not happened yet. I was like, yeah. Nice idea, doesn't work with us. No. It hasn't happened yet. You haven't seen it yet. What you've had in the past is bad systems. Not bad people, bad systems. And bad systems generate bad people, and generate resentment, and generate demotivation, and generate all sorts of other things. But we have to have a balance between performance and behavior, so that's important. No one was measuring behavior before at the HOD level. Now it's going to be measured. That's very important. Yeah? Okay, so let's go back. Remember this one? The SPAN leaders establish a strategy. Strategies are usually 1 year, but at least a 3 to 5 year look ahead. That's a strategy. So in here, you have already your strategies determined by SPAN itself, not by the ministry, not by the commission, by SPAN. Wait, those 5 Fazal and his direct reports are about 20, 30 people who sat in this meeting one day in January. And they basically said, what is our plan for the next 5 years? And they have 8 plans, or 8 focus areas. The first area is what's called continuous supply. The first 3 are all about water. Continuous supply is the idea of a minimum reserve margin, of having an interconnected network, of having sufficient storage, and having alternative supply if water goes down. Now, I live in Bangsa. This last year and a half, my water's been on, off. We don't know when, we don't know how. That's not good. That's not good, right? So continuous supply is key. Absolutely is key. And that makes sense that you have that strategy. The next one is resource management. Resource management is really about how do we ensure that we are treating the water to the level that needs to be treated in order for it to be viable and for the future. So that is basically risk management, that's pollution control, that's reclaim, recycle, reuse, alternative sources, sewage catchment strategy, the infrastructure that will support continuous supply. That's resource management. And the last one is demand management, which is basically NRW, right? Non-renewable water. You need to contain that. It's at a very high level in Malaysia. It's at 32 or 35%. How much is it? 35% of your water is not renewable. That's way too high. So how do we reduce that? How do we get the consumption reduction? And how do we set the tariffs so basically it's fair to the consumer and it's fair to the water companies, the water treatment companies? So these 3 are all about water. Beyond that, the next 5 are all about you, all about SPAN. The first one is customer centricity. How do we engage with our stakeholders better? And there are many stakeholders. One of your problems in SPAN is you have so many stakeholders. You have the ministry, you have the commission, you have the water companies, you have the sewer companies, you have the users of water, you have the polluters, you have so many stakeholders. That's one of the difficulties that you have. So you have too many stakeholders. But that's who you are. So then there's a public service mentality, and then it's eliminate bureaucracy. How do we focus that better driven on the customer? The next one is about you, and that is the world-class workforce. This is a talent management program. This is a training and development. This is the performance reward system. This is what we're talking about today. And there's also this idea of bringing in scholarships. It started slowly, but it's not quite there yet. It's going to start building because you need this in order for the workforce to be motivated, to be engaged, to be ready to go. The next one is digital transformation. This is about the IoT, the Internet of Things. Internet of Things ties beautifully into water. Water, measurement, quality of water, supply of water, everything is perfect for IoT. So this is coming. The issue is what is it and how does it work? So the IT strategy, big data analysis, cybersecurity, those things. And then last one is effective enforcement. This is really the legal aspect of the job. You have a very large legal team, and they're constantly looking at revisions of the acts, proactive, high visibility, process improvement, interagency collaboration. And the last one ties everything together, and that is strategic communication. It's basically how do we talk to the public? How do we talk outside of SPAN with all of our stakeholders? So these are the 8 strategies. You need to bring these strategies and make them come alive. And the way they come alive is through KPIs. So when you turn around and say, well, I have my job and I have all these additional stuff in strategy, yes, that's your KPIs. These are your KPIs. These are your strategic KPIs. And the question is, and that's what Mazdi is working on right now with his team, how do we take these elements and link them to your job performance? Where do they link in and how do they link in? That's important for you to understand and for the organization to understand what you're doing. So it's 2 ways. That's how it works. So we have this clarified. Now it's down at the director level, department level, and employee level. And hopefully, by the end of this month, you'll be getting down to the individual level. This is not an easy task. For the first time, it's very difficult. It gets better every single time we do it. There's a learning curve. But the first time it's done, it's really hard to do right. So there'll be mistakes, but that's okay. Adjustments will be made. And the idea is that we launch it in July, so you have half a year to work on your KPIs, to work on your behaviors. So really, it's set in March, you start rolling with it, and then by July, you'll have a review. And that review will be for the next 6 months. So you have time to train yourself, the organization has time to learn, everything has time to move forward. It's not like tomorrow, it's set this way, and you're going to be measured this way. It's like we give ourselves a running start, 6 months. And only in 2021 will we have full KPIs, will we have the full leadership competencies, the behaviors all in place, all ready to go. And you're getting trained today to understand what this process is and how this is working. Okay? So we saw KPIs. We saw the big picture of KPIs. Now let's talk about leadership competencies, what we call behaviors. There are people who are basically exceptional performers. And leadership competencies are about what do they do? How do they behave differently than others that makes them better? What are the things that, the magic in the bottle that we want to capture? That's what the basis of this is about. Is that some people perform better than others? Why is that? And it's not just about tasks, it's about how they behave, the motivation, the way they think. Right? And therefore, what we're talking about is we're talking about what are the behaviors. They're not only used in performance management, they also used in compensation, we'll pay for performance. They're also used in training and development. You will start seeing training programs aligned with that. For example, you should be doing sometime this year an element called an employee engagement survey. What does that mean? It means it's anonymous, but you will all, it's online, and you all answer it, right? And based on that, then the HODs and the executives will get a feedback of how you, as an organization, are feeling. What's the temperature? Right? Is it good? Is it bad? Where is it bad? And what we're going to be measuring is not just anything, it's actually the behaviors. The behaviors that are important. Are the leaders behaving the way they need to be behaving? And you're giving feedback all the way up the line. It's very important to have. So that's it. And another example of how to use leadership competencies. We're focusing on the behaviors that are going to make a change. We're making sure those behaviors are happening. And if not, then we have to train them. We have to develop them. Not everyone is perfect at all levels. Yeah? And we can also use it in recruitment and selection. So they are bigger than just performance management. Behaviors form culture. Culture is made through behaviors. That's all there is to it. And most importantly is that the behaviors, when we talk about behaviors, we're going to talk about them at the performance management review. When you sit down with your boss and you basically go through what are the issues that I need to improve on. What are the behavioral aspects of my job, and what I do, how I interact with others that I need to improve. So therefore, whatever you do in the behavior area has to come down to this meeting, and it has to be aligned. There has to be understanding. There has to be clarity in the behavior. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend time talking to you today about how does this work, and you're going to practice it through the role plays.
One question. When you talk about this behavior review, does it talk about the performance of the employee per se? Or is it two this, the employee and boss?
So basically, what we're talking about is observed behaviors, observable behaviors. So it's not only observed by the boss, it's also observed by others. But in that role of job performance review, it's between the boss and the employee. So as an employee, you have equal rights to bring in what type of behaviors are you displaying versus just what the boss is saying. And that's the discussion that needs to happen. And you together will come up with a list of things that you're going to improve, or that you're going to keep good behaviors, you're going to stop doing bad behaviors, and you're going to start doing behaviors that need to happen. They need to be seen. The problem is that we have ago, design since it's been asked. There's an element called the Johari matrix. And these are observed behaviors. Okay? There are things that, I'm sorry, I'm left-handed. You can't understand anything I'm writing. Okay. But I'm trying. It's never too late. There are things that you know about yourself. And there are things that you don't know about yourself. And there are things that others know about you, and there are things that others don't know about you. It's a very old psychological matrix. It's called the Johari window. What is known by you and known by others is what's called the arena. Oh yeah, they're like this. This person acts this way, we know them, they're nice people, they tell good jokes, I tell good jokes, that type of thing. Right? That's called the arena. What is known by you, but not known by others, is called the mask. It's the things that you keep to yourself. Some of the things that even our wives don't know. Well, I won't go there. But what's really interesting about this is that there are things that you yourself don't know, but that others know. This is called blind spot. And this is really important because people observe you, but 50% of our time is spent doing habits. And habits we don't even know we're doing. But people see our habits. People see how we react to stress. People see how we react to change. People understand that. We ourselves often do not see this. Because it's just a habit. A habit is automatic. We don't think about it. Yet, what we do automatically is being picked up by others. They're seeing it, right? So therefore, the only way to grow your arena, to make your known more, is to get feedback. Feedback. I saw you behave this way. It's not appropriate. I did. I don't remember that. Yes, you did. And that's why feedback has to be instantaneous. It should not happen only in the performance management review. You cannot say it's now December, and I sit down on a job performance review, and I say on March 10th at 10:30 you did this. I don't remember any of that. That's not true. Why? Because in particular, the blind spot is there. Yeah, you don't even see it. You don't remember it. You don't even know you did it because it's a habit. Right? And so therefore, A, you need to be aware of it, and B, you need to figure out a way to change it. Overcome that blind spot, to overcome a habit. And habits are not easy to change. It takes about 4 to 5 months to change a habit. Right. So therefore, in the performance review, and in all of the aspects of how do we act with each other, the boss and the employee, colleagues and employees, and even superiors and employees, how do you act with each other? You're trying to basically help all of us to overcome blind spots and to focus on the things that matter, which are the behaviors that we're going to talk about. There's 7 behaviors in SPAN. That SPAN is that these are important. These will move our culture forward. These will help SPAN go from 87 to 100 to 120%. These are important. And they are. And they're good. We've done a lot of these in our time. These 7 behaviors that you've chosen, they're really good. And we'll go through that.
How do we tell others that they are behaving inappropriately without telling them?
Right. And that is why you have the 7 behaviors. Because you're allowed to under the 7 behaviors. 7 behaviors say, we have to, well, let's go into that. This first behavior is that you have to be honest. That's a SPAN behavior. Right? So, if you see dishonesty, you have to raise it. It's not because you want us all to turn into spies. It's because if we're not honest, and honesty is not valued at SPAN, then SPAN cannot move forward. You're a regulator. You have to have honesty, right? It has to be there. And actually, it shouldn't even be here. You should already be honest. This should not be an issue. This should not be an issue, but it is. So we have it as a behavior, right? And as a consequence of that, and you'll see in a minute, what are the appropriate behaviors that show honesty? What are inappropriate behaviors that show not honesty? And if you're not honest, then we need to work on those behaviors. That's the example. Yeah. So coming back, just to jump back, it basically took us 2.5 months, multiple meetings. We started with 40 different potential behaviors that were taken from Ofwat, which is from the UK, Canada, Singapore, et cetera, other regulators in water, as well as other organizations that have similar types of profiles to you. And we came up with 40 of them. We then brought them down to about 7 within 2 workshops. This is all done by your own HODs, by the steering committee, and by people who are actually executives, not only HODs, there are executives in those meetings, younger people. So basically we had a good mix of people from SPAN, all from SPAN, and all we did was facilitate. We did not tell you what to do. So these are from SPAN. So these 7 behaviors come from you. They didn't come from us. They came from a very large group, and we brought them down to 7. These are 7. The thing about these 7 is that they actually not all the same level. Right? There are 3 of them, what we call foundational behaviors. These are things that have to be in place, behaviors that have to be in place in order for SPAN to work. Right? And the first one is honesty. Absolutely. You are a regulator, so therefore you are about honesty. So therefore you have to act in an honest way. The other one is called discipline. Discipline is basically know and apply the regulations and the policies. As a regulator, you must know what guidelines you're working with, particularly in the legal side, but also as an element within the organization. You must always make sure that you know what are the rules and regulations. That's called discipline. And you must operate under them. And the last one is called accountable. Accountable is basically do your job. Take your responsibilities and deliver high quality, timely, cost-effective results. That's your job description. Basically, do your job. Those are what we call the 3 fundamentals. Now, in a highly evolved organization that knows what it's doing and that just works, these 3 you can do away with. You don't need them because everyone is acting that way. And it's our hope that when SPAN gets to the level of performance at 120% up here, you will not need these 3. You will not need it because everyone is working that way. And anyone who doesn't is immediately visible. Like, oh, there's a problem. And that is immediately covered. Right now, we have so much of it. Who's doing their job? Who is actually acting within the rules and regulations? How much honesty or dishonesty is there? We don't know. So until we get this set foundation nailed, we basically need these 3. And these are behaviors. These are behaviors. Do you care about delivering on your job? Does it show? It has to be observable. Does it show? The next 4 are what's going to allow your organization to move forward. These are going to change the culture in your organization. They're going to change the way SPAN acts and behaves. And I can tell you this because we've done this. We've gone into organizations like SPAN. When you go into SPAN Cyberjaya, you go in and it's very quiet. There's no noise. A few people moving around. We know that when you get all these 4 going, there will be noise. There will be a lot of noise in SPAN. People talking, exchanging. And the noise level is not only high, it's actually exciting. And so what we know that it's working is by the noise level that we hear when we go into the organization. And it will take 18 months, 2 years to get to that. But SPAN will be changed. It will be a changed organization if it works according to the plan. If you allow it to work properly. The organization changes, the culture changes, the communication changes, the interaction changes. And the changes before the following reasons. One is proactive. It's no longer good enough to say, I have a problem. Proaction means, let me think about a solution. So when you go to your boss, it's no longer about, boss, I have a problem. It's, boss, I have a problem, but maybe this is a solution. What do you think? Because it shows that you follow. Proactivity is about identifying and analyzing problems and coming up with ideas. It might not be the right solution, but at least you thought of something. No longer can it be tolerated that even your boss goes to their boss and says, I don't know what to do. Work together, work across colors, down to the organization, up the organization. That's how organizations who are highly effective work. They have people think, and are asked to think, are required to think. So how do you measure that behavior? Yes, you have a problem. We all have problems. Some are really hard problems. Yeah, we all have problems. But do we come up with solutions? I can observe that. That's observable. And that you can go to your boss and sit down and the boss says, oh, you're not proactive. Yes, I am. This is what I've done. This is how I've done it. Document it. Now argue against it. Make him argue, make him pay for it. Don't give up on it. But that's what proactivity is about. It's about thinking about problems. We all have problems, and you all have big problems and small problems. Think about what the solutions are. Don't just turn around and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do is not helpful in moving the culture forward. The next one is customer driven. This is basically this idea of really who is your customer. You have internal customers, people that depend on you for their ability to do their KPIs, and you have external customers, people who basically depend on water, like a primary resource. And then you also have the water companies who are also your customers. So what are their needs? You have to understand their needs, and you have to be able to try to figure out, well, can we build a solution that will allow them to get water, that allow them to get clean water, that allows us to move from the 87 to the 120% that we need to go internally. So those are the customer-driven elements. Strategic is basically this idea of that you just don't do your job. Like, this isn't accountable. That's your job. But strategic is you also know you're linked to what you're doing in your KPIs to the strategies moving forward. That you talk when you're sitting in a meeting about the long term, about how do we reduce NRW, about how do we work together, how do we integrate IT and IoT into the company. That's called strategic. Understand and work to accomplish long-term goals. And the last one is about learning. In order for Span to work, you need to learn. The industry of water, and the industry of everything that you're doing is changing very, very, very quickly. And you cannot no longer rely on what happened in the past. You must learn about what's happening now. And you must be interested in what's called, you must have a growth mindset. You want to learn. And so you have to show, apply, continuously build your competencies. You have to show how you're doing it. And you work with your boss in terms of, well, what can I do? What can I learn? Is there a training program? Is there a project I can go on? Is there something I can do in my job that will allow me to grow? We need people who want to grow in order for you to be successful. So these are the 7. Honesty, discipline, accountable, all basic, fundamental to running the organization, and the other 4 being proactive, customer-driven, strategic, and ultimately studious. Now that doesn't mean that all day, every day, we're going to be learning, and all day, every day, we're going to be strategic, etc. But you need to show, slowly but surely, that there is a consistency in the behavior, thought process, that you are engaged, that you're willing. That's what's important. And it takes time. It's not going to happen like this. Remember, we're changing habits. Habits take 4 to 5 months to change. Any questions on these 7? Everyone's worried. There's this big concern on your faces, more so than with your colleagues, and I'm worried now. What are you worried about? What's concerning you? Any questions or comments? Does this make sense to you? Span is going to be a different place to work. It is, if you allow these to happen. And because it's linked now to the performance management system, it's going to happen. Because your salary and your bonus depends on it. Your ability to move up the organization depends on it. So it has that reinforcement. The reinforcement is through your rating. Now here's the thing. Yes, these 7 apply to everyone in Span. Everyone. Strato all the way down to the drivers. Okay, now, well, the excellence. Now, having said that, each level of the organization has a different role to play in making these behaviors true. And that is where this chart comes in. So depending on the level within span, you have an expectancy of being able to show behaviors, observable behaviors at different levels. Let's start with the non-executives. Non-executives basically don't have anyone working for them, so therefore it depends on them. It's their self-leadership it's called. How do I behave? And that's the only thing that they can be judged on. How do I behave? This is the I behavior. But when you then go up to a level of executive and you have people working for you, it's not only about me, it's also about the people who I supervise, the people who are under me, my team. How do I help them do what they need to do in their behaviors? And so basically, this is what we call the key characteristics for level 2. Leading others is that you basically have to show that as an intermediate. So, and then the last one is HOD. Not only do they have to show self-behavior, not only do they have to show behavior in their own team, they also have to show how they're moving the organization forward, which is called leading the business. So, HODs have to have everything. Intermediate executives have to have self as well as leading others. And the non-executives have to show self-behavior. But all the same behaviors. Honesty, discipline, accountable, etc. So how does that look? How does that work? Here's an example of that. This is the one that we call studious, the last one. That was on the list of 7. This is what the expectation, right? Competency description for self-leadership, level 1. Non-executives are expected to apply and continuously build their competencies and knowledge. You want to be learning and show that you're interested in learning yourself, not anyone else, yourself. The executives not only continuously build their own competencies, but actively engage with each subordinate to build their individual set of competencies. So it's not only about me. From a boss, I also have to worry about my individual team members. What are they doing? How can they be encouraged? What can we do there? Right? So it's a different level of expectation. So they're going to be measured on how well they do that, not only themselves, but for their team. That's important. And the last one, leading the business, is basically span leaders are continuous learners, and they drive the need to build competencies and capabilities at all levels of the organization. They're constantly talking about what can we learn. They're constantly talking about how can we understand this better. They're constantly looking for it in all the meetings that they send and all the things that they do. If all 3 levels can do what they need to do to be studious, you will see change occur in SMAC. But what's important to note is that there are different levels, right? That's important. Same behavior, different levels. Different levels of measurement of that behavior. Put it that way. Okay. So how does that work? Right, that was your earlier question. What do we observe? What do we observe? Well, I only have the non-executives, but if you want the executives, I can also show you the executives. Because this is an open book, right? I only have the non-executives because there's a lot of pages. So I'll show you the non-executives. If you want to see the executives, I can show you that too. Okay? So basically, this is honesty. This is self-leadership, so level 1. This is only for the non-executives. This is what you will see in your performance management review. You will see this definition. So span non-executives are honest, act in an ethical manner, and prioritize span's betterment. What does that mean? It means basically you work for the improvement of span, not only for yourself. It's not only self-interest, it's actually the interest of span. So what are the behaviors that focus on this and that help? Well, first of all, you need to know and follow SPAN's code of ethics. Secondly, you need to be open and honest in dealing with others. Third is that if something goes wrong, don't hide it, inform, particularly your superior. If dishonesty or dishonest and unethical behavior that you observe, you need to report it. And if a potential conflict of interest occurs and you don't know what to do, discuss it. Discuss it. That is expected behavior in terms of honesty. Examples of inappropriate behavior Taking credit for work of others? Does that happen to you? You do something and somebody else says, yeah, I did it. No, they didn't do it. That's not honest. Gossip? Oh, yeah. You hear that in every company, so don't worry, you're not unique. Okay? Use company resources for own benefit. Prioritize own interests over the company's interests. Accept bribes and gifts from others. Does that make sense? The hard one is gossiping. How the heck do we get around that? Well, the way to getting around it is to turn around and say, okay, within the job description, within the job performance review, this will probably come up. And you need to talk to it. You need to talk through it. How are we going to change our behavior? How are we going to change our habit of standing around the coffee machine? Or you have a tin tire machine or whatever it is. How do we stop it? Because gossip is not helpful. It's not honest. It's rumors. Rumors are not helpful to culture. That's why it's in there. Now, if you look at the same chart for the executives, in here is the word favoritism, showing favoritism. That's very important. So you don't have any self-behavior, because how are you going to be showing favoritism if you only work yourself? But if you have people under you, you cannot be showing. You have to be transparent, and you have to be, I should say, the same, right? In the honesty of how you evaluate people. It's not because you like them, it's because they're doing their job that the performance occurs. Here is discipline. So the expected behavior is non-executives understand and apply standard regulations, policies, and procedures. So therefore, the expected behavior is within your field that you work in. You need to know what are the rules and regulations. What impact do you have on that, right? And respect and act according to the rules and regulations. If in doubt regarding a policy or regulation or procedure, ask for clarification. Seek help. Learn. Examples of things not to do is you go around or ignore the rules and regulations and make them up as you go. You remain silent when others disrespect. Or you make assumptions regarding rules and regulations. You don't check. You just go ahead and do it. You turn and say, oh, we're not spies. It's not about spying. It's about appropriate behavior. If you see something wrong, we need to talk about it. There's this famous thing about, oh, we don't want to touch the rice bowl. The rice bowl affects everyone. So let's forget about that rice bowl argument. It's not a valid argument in the culture and in the organization I expect. You are regulators. You're not a normal employee. You have a special mission. And that special mission has this word discipline in it. In other organizations, we don't see this one. Rules and regulations normally don't apply, but they apply to you because you are a regulator. That's right. Okay. Next one is accountable. So non-executives take responsibility for the work and deliver high-quality, timely, cost-effective results. So examples of expected behavior: be conscientious, care about the quality of the work that you're doing, respect timelines and schedules, stay within assigned budgets, be decisive, take decisions and actions that are in line with your knowledge and your level of responsibility. Ask for clarifications if you have doubts regarding your assignments, and then ask for help and guidance if you're having problems completing your assignments. Don't hide things. Not easy. But having said that, basically, examples of inappropriate behavior: failure to complete assigned tasks in the agreed upon time, not communicating in time if a problem arises, so it's too late, seeking to assign blame if the target is missed, and then taking decisions beyond the capability, the level of responsibility, making decisions that are not appropriate. These are all observable. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be 100% right, and that's the whole idea of this. Sometimes you make a slip, okay, let's rectify that, and that's what this is for. But if we all do it right, in the right way, for the right reasons, you will see the organization start changing. You will see the organization change. The next one is called